Hello and welcome to Kermode and Mayo's Take with your regular portion of Kermode, but hold the Mayo. Yes, Simon's still on the cruise, so sitting in the host chair opposite Mark this week is me, Robbie Collin, second critical beef patty in a sort of podcasting Big Mac. I think we'll wind this metaphor up now before it gets deranged.
I want you to run with it.
All right, so what's the lettuce?
Yeah.
What's the ketchup?
Simon Poole. We should point out that we're doing all of this with Hannah wearing a pair of, do you call them weenie boppers? What are the things?
Dealy boppers.
Dealy boppers, because we're recording it. Apparently there's a football match going to be going on, which we're very excited about, but neither you nor I know anything about football. So every time we look over to the control box, we just see these two mad flags. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, there's two St. George's crosses flapping away.
How do you feel about that with your nationality, Rob? Because you came in with your laptop in a tartan case.
I did, yes. I mean, do I feel threatened? Do I feel triggered by
No, I'm just wondering how you feel.
Display of sort of BNP-style nationalism going on behind the glass here. No, I'm fine. I can, I've managed it my whole life. I can manage another 2 hours of it now.
Shall I start waving a Manx flag and make this really, really as niche as possible?
This is actually the first time I've been back opposite you since we did The Whale back in February this year, I think.
Wow.
We had the double critic
sandwich.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to be opposite you again.
Absolutely. And essentially this is just what we do before screenings anyway, is natter away as two critics, one to another. I've actually been up on the Isle of Arran for the last week.
How's that been?
It's been delightful. It's been bizarrely sunny.
Yes, you've come in.
Weather.
You've come in boldly wearing a pair of very short shorts.
Yes. What did you describe these shorts as?
A brave decision.
A brave decision, which I took as a compliment.
Yes,
I'm
you
not
should
sure
have
if it was intended as one, but that's how I'm wearing it.
But
so
you always cut a sartorial swathe. I mean, you quite often turn up to screenings wearing something that's sort of slightly statementy about it. You're not, you don't dress down.
Again, I'm not sure if this is a compliment.
No, it is a compliment. It is a compliment. I mean, I just always wear the same thing. I wear, like a black T-shirt and black trousers. That's it. I always look the same. But it's like you will walk into a screening room and it's, oh, Robbie is wearing.
It's a kind of an open goal. Most snappily dressed critic is equivalent of what most muscular gerbil. So it's something I'm happy to embrace as part of my image. Tell us what we're reviewing today, because I've seen one of these films since I got back from Scotland.
So you've seen Lie With Me.
I've seen Lie With Me, yes.
Which is, well, we'll discuss it very shortly. Then Strays, which is a series of dogs and a lot of swearing. And Blue Beetle, which is the new superhero movie about which I knew nothing until I sat down to see it. All of that coming up in the in take one.
And we'll also not be reviewing, but talking around Scrapper, which is out next week. And the star of that film, Harris Dickinson, will be joining us in the studio later on. Then later, we've also got your extra takes, at least another 90 minutes of connoisseur-level cinematic nattering and squabbling. We have the weekend watch list, weekend not list, 5 of which are great and 3 you'll hate. 2 bonus reviews of TIM and The Future Tense. And in Take It or Leave It, You Decide, we're watching Aberdeen 83, Once in a Lifetime, which tells the story of the Don's extraordinary spell at the top of European football 40 years ago, a time that I know both of us treasure exactly as much as the other.
Yeah, because one of the weird things is when I was choosing this, because we get all the suggestions, and I thought, oh, well, this will be great because Robbie will have stuff to say about this because, oh yeah, that's right. What Robbie knows about football is about as much as I do.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I grew up in Edinburgh where you're expected to support either Heart of Midlothian or Hibernian. I supported neither, which was this kind of massive ostracising thing throughout my whole childhood. So I know nothing. The one thing I know about Aberdeen was the playground chant at the time, which is Aberdeen, Aberdeen, can he kick a jelly bean? Now, leaving aside the logistical difficulty of kicking a jelly bean on grass when you're wearing boots with studs on, clearly this chant came in after the glory period, which the film refers to.
But sorry, and this is a genuine question: Is that a dismissive? Is it they can't kick, or is it a good thing or a bad thing? It's a diss. It's a diss that they can't kick a jelly bean.
It's Aberdeen. Can he kick a jelly bean?
Right.
And then there's something else to do with insert one other team. Someone can't kick anything at all, and then the team of your choice is the best of all, or something like that.
Okay,
that's how it runs. But it was the Aberdeen Jelly Bean Association that stuck with me.
Okay, and does it end with somebody going home in an ambulance, which is how those chants usually end?
Inevitably, either in the lyrics or in reality.
I grew up in.
There we are. So thank you, Simon,
So
for chiming
repeat
in there.
that so that the audience can hear it.
Aberdeen, can he kick a jelly bean? Rangers, can he kick a ball? Hearts are the best of all.
You know, I want to congratulate you on just embracing a racial stereotype. I grew up in Barnet, and the Barnet football team, they were the Barnet Bees. And I never saw a football match, but a very good friend of mine, Nick Kennedy, was a big Barnet Bees supporter, and apparently they were meant to be. But then I said to somebody the other day, "Oh, were they ever in a league?" Because I was talking to somebody who understands football, and I didn't know this. That
you may have just seen the shutters kind of automatically descend there when you said the word league.
So when I was a kid, there was League 1, 2, was it 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and now it's Premier. The Premier
There's
is one.
definitely a Premier League.
Is
I
one.
know that much.
Championship is 2, which sounds better than 2, and then 3 and 4. And I think Barnet were in one. Anyway, I said to somebody, "Where are they?" They said, "I don't think they're a league team at all." But I thought they were. I don't know if there are any Barnet Bees fans out there. Let me know. But apparently, it was quite a big deal.
Right.
And that's the end of our
Let's just
football
take your
discussion.
word
There we go.
okay. And sorry, in addition to that, we've also got Pretentious Moi.
Yes.
Both Mark and I will be tackling this feature today.
Yes. This
which
feels like balancing the scales for once.
Oh, no, I don't like this at all. One Frame Back is inspired by Strays. We've asked for your top film dogs. And you can support us via Apple Podcasts or head to extratakes.com for non-fruit related devices. And if you're already a Vanguardista, as always, we salute you. All right, let's move to review. Let's talk about a new film that's coming out this week. Okay. Lie to Me.
Lie with me.
Lie with me,
which crucially is a different thing, because I assume that Lie With Me, the English, it has a pun, a deliberate pun in the title, as in lie or tell a lie.
Yes, because the French title is Arrête avec tes mensonges, which is stop with your lies or stop with your stories, which again has got this interesting double meaning.
Precisely. Yeah. So, directed by, and forgive my pronunciations, Olivier Payon, adapted from a best-selling and apparently somewhat autobiographical novel by Philippe Besson, which I haven't read. Have you? No. Okay.
I have not.
Tells the story of a successful novelist, Stéphane Belcourt, who returns to his rural hometown for the first time in decades. He has been invited there to serve as a brand ambassador for the town's cognac distillery. And when he gets there, he discovers that one of the people in the company is Lucas, who turns out to be the son of Thomas, with whom he was in love as a teenager. And I don't think that's a plot spoiler. I think that's the setup. The drama then divides between the present day, in which Thomas's son wants to know what Stéphane meant to his father, and their earlier years when Stéphane and Thomas first made a connection, and Thomas insisted that they keep it a secret. Here's a clip.
Qu'est-ce que tu fous là? Ça fait une semaine que t'es pas en cours, moi je me demandais si ça allait. Je remplace mon père, il est malade. Et franchement, tu débloques. Toi, je t'autorise à venir ici. Ma vie ici et avec toi, c'est deux trucs différents. C'est pas les mêmes mondes. D'accord, mais t'as pas le droit d'avoir des potes dans ton monde? Pas des potes comme toi, tu t'es vu. Ça veut dire quoi? Rien, c'est juste que... T'as honte? T'as honte de moi? Non. Si on nous voit ensemble, on va se demander. Tu vois bien? Quoi? Qu'est-ce qu'on va se demander? Vas-y, dis-le. Chut. C'est toi qui es venu me chercher, moi je t'ai rien demandé. Hein. Pourquoi tu m'as choisi? Alors pourquoi t'es avec moi? Je suis pas avec toi!
So essentially what's happening there is he's saying, what are you doing here? And he said, well, I'm here to see you. Why are you here? You can't be here. I can't be seen with you. But you chose me. Why did you choose me? I did not choose you, and I'm not with you. So that's the central dynamic, is that one of them wants to embrace the relationship and the other one is trying to kind of deny the relationship whilst it's still happening. There is a quote on the publicity, which is from Little White Lies, that says, fans of Call Me By Your Name and Portrait of a Lady on Fire should enjoy Olivier Payon's compelling drama Lie With Me. Now, I loved Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I was massively underwhelmed by Call Me By Your Name. So in a way, that's actually the perfect assessment, because on the one hand, there are things about this that I can appreciate. I mean, I think it's, solidly acted. It's the performances are fine. It's very handsome to look at, and it's clearly heartfelt. On the other hand, it's like, oh, it's that film. Yeah, that film? It's that film. It's contrived. It is not a little predictable. And I haven't read the novel, but there's nothing in watching the film that makes me think, I really need to read that novel, because it sounds like it's full of incredibly important truths. Now, this is not to say that it's a bad film. It isn't. As I said, there are two sides of this. One of them is Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and the other one is Call Me By Your Name. Is it Call Me By Your Name or Call Me By Mine? Call Me By Your Name. Yeah. I just spent a lot of it thinking it just feels like a ton of other things that I've seen before. And it is. I mean, it's interesting whenever posters do that thing about quoting other films and going, if you like this and you like this, then you'll like, if you like cheese and you like peas, you'll love new squeezy cheesy peas. And this is a bit squeezy cheesy peas, isn't it? It's like, yeah, okay, it's that film. And I was underwhelmed. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think less underwhelmed than you. I think it's a very handsomely made film.
It is
something
handsomely
that
made.
Came across in the clip there is that the author, the older author, so in the present day sequences, he wears these very stylish horn-rimmed glasses, which give him the air of someone who's great at looking at things and perceiving and seeing. And this is a huge part of his character because he's touted as this author who really understands love, and he can write about love like no other French author alive.
Which I don't believe.
And in the past sequences, he wears these, the younger version of him wears these rimless glasses, which are very, very reflective. And they feel like he's kind of got a shield down against the outside world. So there's all these, like in the costuming, there's all these lovely little touches. It's shot beautifully. I think that my issue is the premise made me think of Francois Ozon, who's a French director that I love very, very much.
Me too.
This is nothing like an Ozon film at all. It's very, very well behaved, even pretty tasteful, the really, chewy sex scenes notwithstanding, it's all staged very aesthetically pleasingly. It's all very beautiful to watch, and there's no kind of teasing, there's no trickery, aside from arguably this shift of understanding towards the end, to which you've alluded, to do with the son's true understanding of who this author is.
Can I say something on the Ozon connection?
Yes. Here's
the key difference. Ozon's movies keep you on your toes because you never know where they're going. Even when you think you do. I remember the first time I saw You See the Sea, Regard La Mer, which was the first thing I ever saw of his. And I thought he's a horror director. The thing with and then there's a musical. And then Ozon's movies have that habit that they might suddenly break you. They might suddenly do something dangerous. I never felt that was the case here.
Yes, and I think a lot of the surrounding drama is very much there as scaffolding. It's just there to pin the central relationship.
Lovely
on.
Countryside.
I think the countryside is lovely, and I think the central relationship between the author and the son is really tenderly played. There's a lot of nuance there. But yes, it is, as you say, it's Squeezy Cheese Peas, the movie.
Put that on the poster.
So that was Lie With Me, and still to come on this week's show.
Strays, Dogs and Swearing, and Blue Beetle.
And, of course, our conversation with the star of Beach Rats, Triangle of Sadness, and now Scrapper, Harris Dickinson. We'll be back before you can say behind every exquisite thing that existed, there was something tragic. We have an email here from Lucy, very short, saying, thought this was sweet.
Okay.
And the following clip is attached.
FBI thing. Bloke with the smirky faces in it. Big eyebrow. He was in that baby film as well, and the musical with the Australian woman, big quiff. Hit him, not her.
Mark Kermode.
Who's that?
And there we've ascended into the... So that's from The Change, right?
This is from The Change, the Bridget Christie show. I love that you've achieved this status in film criticism where you're now a regular punchline on sitcoms. I mean, I look on in pure envy. First the thick of it, and now this. This is incredible.
I knew this had happened because Ellen E. Jones, who I also work with, had said, "Oh, your name turned up in this thing," and I said, "Oh, good or bad?" She went, "No, neither. Just turn." I was the thick of it is where the big hands thing comes from. And in fact, weirdly enough, Child 2 has started watching the thick of it because kids do that thing about, oh, this is something they've heard about. And he went, Dad, you're in, so yeah. So anyway, yeah, so the big hands. But I don't know that I'm starting to wonder whether my hands are actually massive in real life or whether it is. How big are your hands?
Should we have a handoff? Let's see. I don't know. I thought I had big hands, but yours, there's a certain girth to the fingers.
Okay, but it's about the same size, but my hand is chunkier. But it's so okay. So therefore, my hands are massive. Yeah. Anyway, yes. As they said, it's being a punchline is a form of I don't know, success or something.
Yeah.
But also it's just because, if you said to somebody, name somebody with a quiff, I mean, it's a small pond, isn't it? I mean, it's Morrissey, although not anymore apparently, and me.
There you go.
Yeah, but this must happen to you though. It must. If people say like, who's the Scottish film critic, you'd say Robbie Collin, wouldn't you? Or who's the tall film critic? That would happen.
Someone did say to me recently, "You must be the most successful Scottish film critic."
Which, as you say, is a bit like the most muscular.
Compared to who? The most muscular gerbil again. Yeah, thank you. All right, shall we do the box office top 10?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so at 10 in the UK and in the US, not charted, is Gadar 2, The Katha Continues. This is a new Hindi language release.
Can we do the two that aren't in the top 10 first?
Yes. In fact, shall we do the three?
There's three, yeah.
So, yes, we have, the first is Katak the Brave Beluga.
Well, look, let's do these two together. Katak the Brave Beluga and Puffin Rock and the New Friends. Yes. The reason that we do them together is when Sanjeev and I reviewed them last week, it was interesting that there were two films aimed at younger audiences, both with a kind of eco-friendly consciousness. One of them was about belugas, the other one's about puffins. And actually, the second one is the Puffin Rock is by Cartoon Saloon, and it's lovely and charming and delightful, and the animation is great. And the beluga is like, okay, it's the difference is if you were a parent and you were taking the children to see this, the beluga one is the one that you do what Simon Mayo does, which is have an earpiece in so you could listen to the football. And the Puffin Rock is the one when you take the earpiece out because actually it's really charming and it's got this lovely narration. But so I think if you're going to do one of the two of them, Puffin Rock is absolutely the one to do.
And we also, not charted, is L'Immensità.
Yes, did you
Emmanuel
see
Pugliese
this?
film. I saw this back at Venice last year and loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was completely delightful and really affecting.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting film. The title is odd because it literally means the immensity. And essentially, it's a portrait of a marriage breaking up as seen from the point of view of people going through their own kind of adolescent coming of age. And it deals with we was talking to Sanju about this, it deals with a bunch of heavy issues, as the title suggests, but it does it with a lightness of touch and a sense of wit and empathy that actually makes it's not a heavy load to carry at all. And Sanjeev was saying, are you emotionally involved in it? And yeah, that's absolutely why it works. It works because you're emotionally involved. And Penelope Cruz is terrific in it. I mean, she's terrific in almost everything, but she's very good in this.
She's great. Okay, so at 10 we have Gadar 2, The Katha Continues. This is the Hindi language film, and
yes,
which is typically not screened to critics.
No, it wasn't press screen. It's a historical action drama. There's another one later on in the chart, which is Jailer, which is a Tamil language action thriller written and directed by Nelson. Again, this wasn't screened. We've talked about this before. The general reason is that the distributors don't screen them, often because they don't get them in time, because in order to stop the films being pirated, they often don't arrive, for screening. Like the BBFC will see them the day before they're going out. So that's why. So if you have seen either of those two, send us an email.
At number 9 in the UK and at 12 in the US is Elemental. Now, this has quietly made just over 15 million in the UK so far.
Which is very good.
It's miles off Inside Out, but it's significantly better than Lightyear, which, of course, last year was meant to be Pixar's great box office hope.
But the reason is because it is significantly better than Lightyear, which was a terrible film. I mean, Lightyear I thought was... No? You were...
I thought Lightyear was diabolical. It's Pixar's worst by miles for me. I think Elemental, it's interesting because I think that the central romance in that film, and it is a romance, is incredibly sweetly handled. And I think the film improves a lot as it goes on and the romance becomes more central to what's going on. I think you had an issue with this as well. All the fiddly stuff about how Element City works feels to me like padding. It's like we've created this world in which we want this couple who can't be together to be together, but because we've now built the world, we have to do some fun stuff with it. And it's not as fun as it is in Disney's Zootropolis, for instance, Zootopia overseas, where you actually feel as if there's, seeing the mice going to work on the tiny little train and all this stuff. It's really sweet and fun, and there's a lot of fun visual trickery with issues of scale and things. In this, it's not. It's just a lot of complicated blur. And then finally, when this relationship kind of catches, you're like, okay, now I see what the film is about.
I thought, I've said this before, but I don't know whether you heard Simon's interview with the director.
I did, Peter Sohn, yes.
Yes, and it really was one of the things that the film improved for me hugely after hearing that interview, because he was talking very movingly and very personally.
At number 8 in the UK and 9 in the US is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, Mark, I have a question about your already much celebrated F My Hat review of this film. Now, clearly you loved it, and I loved it too. Goodness, I think it's wonderful. In your review for The Observer, you went 4 stars rather than 5. Now, my question isn't, why didn't you give it 5? Because there's nothing more boring.
Because you're not an idiot.
Than moaning at critics about why they didn't give a film one rating than another. But what I'm interested in is what your method is for working out star ratings.
Okay.
Because I did, having listened to you talk about the film on the podcast, I thought, okay, this must be a 5 from Mark. And it wasn't.
Okay, well, it's very simple. Firstly, as we all know, star ratings are stupid, and we all hate them. And what happened with The Observer was that we came to an arrangement, which was that there would be star ratings on the website because it drives traffic, but not in the newspaper because the review is the review, okay? And in terms of a methodology, if there is one, I mean, if it's possible to have a methodology, it would be, I really love the film, it makes no sense, and the script is a bit shonky. So it's not a 5-star film would be Tom Cruise throwing himself off the top of a mountain with a plot that absolutely made brilliant sense and was written by Oscar Wilde. A 4-star film is Tom Cruise throws himself off the top of a mountain after a lot of people have talked about The Entity and said the words The Entity so many times, so that's it. But it's like, it's possible to absolutely, and, you do the same. You have to do star ratings for the Telegraph.
For the Telegraph,
right?
yes, that's right.
Do you hate it as much as I do?
I mean, broadly, yes, because you tie yourself in knots. And the thing is, how I approach it is I don't put the rating on until I've written the review.
Me too.
Because, I mean, sometimes you just know, but often you need to read back what you thought and think, okay, so this reads like this. And sometimes an editor will read it and go, do you know what? This actually reads, and my goodness, film PR's hair would fall out if they knew these kind of discussions went on. But, you'll write something and the editor will, actually, that to me, that doesn't sound like a 3, it sounds like a 4, or vice versa. And you'll say, absolutely. And it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter, because what matters is the words that you slave over, right? So I would only really know 100% at the end of the review. Yeah. Part of me loves it because it's nailing your colours to the mast, and it's doing it in an extremely visible way, more visible than the text. But it's not doing anything that the text isn't.
Except it isn't, because, as I have said before, there are movies that you love and movies that you hate. But the movies that are really important are the movies that you can love and hate at the same time. And a star rating cannot do that.
At number 7 in the UK and in the US, not charted, is Jailer, which is a Tamil language thriller, again, not press screened.
If anyone's seen it, please let us know. Written and directed by Nelson is all I know about it.
At number 6 in the UK and 3 in the US is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Now, did you manage to catch up with this?
Yes.
And?
It's fine. I mean, it's you've seen it, right?
I was very pleasantly surprised by this one, because all the other Turtles films are rubbish.
Okay, except the first Turtles film, it was at the time the biggest selling independent movie of all time. It doesn't mean it's any good, but it was the biggest selling independent movie of all time.
It's interesting for that reason alone. I mean, have you watched it recently?
No, I watched it once when it came out.
It's a monstrosity.
And I wrote a song called Turtle Town about going to Hollywood when all those, and when it was absolutely everywhere. And that was
Turtle Town, like the John Cooper Clarke Chicken Town.
Well, yes, except with a different word.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
that was it. But it's it was
a bit like an homage to that.
It was just it was me being smart, or being stupid, depending on which version you want.
At number 5 in the UK and 6 in the US is Haunted Mansion. This is a new entry. It's made less than $1 million in the UK, so that sort of suggests there's no real appetite for this film. Yeah. The Eddie Murphy one in 2003 made more than twice as much in its opening weekend.
Yes.
And that's at 2003 prices. So I don't know. I mean, I just found this such a trudge.
I just, it is boring, and it struggled to keep my attention, and it's a shame because there are a lot of very good people attached to it, from the director to the cast. It's a second run at turning this fairground ride into a film, and I sat through the whole thing thinking, when is this? There's just stuff. There's just stuff.
It's a stuff film. It's another stuff film.
So much stuff. But also, in terms of what's the plot? Well, the plot
There's
is
a house with ghosts in it.
And then Owen Wilson has come in, but then he is, but then he isn't. And then there's the thing with the guy with the head, but then he's not there. And you're going, just which one of these themes are you? And then Jamie Lee Curtis in a bowl. It's like, just pick one, right? Just pick one. Don't just throw stuff at and also watching it, I did think, I haven't seen Hocus Pocus in a while. I enjoyed Hocus Pocus more than... Have you seen Hocus Pocus?
Hocus Pocus is a really fun film.
Yeah.
As the sequel was not too bad either.
Oh, yes, Hocus Pocus 2.
Now, at number 4 in the UK and in the US, it's not charted, but only because it's not out yet, is Gran Turismo, another new entry, which has just scraped 1 million in its opening weekend.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me that it's not a huge hit, but I do think... Well, firstly, it's a video game adaptation that isn't. It's it's based on a true story that I knew nothing about. I didn't know Jan Maldenborough's story at all.
No, really. I've not seen the film, I should say. Okay. But even as someone who plays Gran Turismo, this was totally new to me.
Well, I don't play Gran Turismo, but I didn't know the story of, this guy who was a gamer who then through the program ends up actually, driving race cars. So it's a good story. And, Neil Blomkamp is known for science fiction, but in a way this is a kind of, it's almost a science fiction fantasy because it's the last starfighter with cars, basically. He becomes really, really good at the video game and then you go out on the track and do it. I thought the race sequences were exciting. I know a couple of younger people who've seen it and really, really enjoyed it. So, okay, not a runaway hit, but I think it's a much better film than it could have been. I think it's it's an interesting way of doing a video game adaptation, and I think he does know how to direct. I think he does a good job of making the real world and the virtual world interface. So I think, in that respect, it is a science fiction movie, even though it's not fiction.
Now, at number 3 in the UK, number 4 in the US, a film which there's clearly an enormous, one might even say prehistoric shark-sized appetite for, Meg 2, The Trench.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I have seen
it.
Great. It's taken an extraordinary 7.5 million.
Yes.
How this has happened, I don't know. Now, let's start with an email from Greg.
Go ahead.
Greg says, I took my 12-year-old to see Meg 2 and we both really enjoyed it. It was utterly preposterous, but a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. What struck me was the difference in the critical response to this, and what was in many ways a very similar film, Greg's words, not mine, the latest Mission Impossible. Both are utterly bonkers, something me and my child both notice. In each, the plot, such as it is, only really exists to link together set pieces and stunts. They both exist in a parallel universe where the laws of physics and cause and effect don't quite work the same as in ours. And if you pause either part the way through to actually think about what's happening, it would break the illusion and you'd be left spluttering. But surely that wouldn't. Of course, the stunts in Mission Impossible are a level or two up, which might be why the critics, that's one way of putting it, which might be why the critics were a little more forgiving. But I'm not sure any of the criticisms of Meg don't also apply to Mission Impossible. Of the two, we probably liked Meg 2 more. It was half an hour shorter, but it felt much shorter still. With Mission Impossible, much as we liked it, it felt like we'd been in the cinema for 2.5 hours. With the Meg, it was more of, wow, was that really 2 hours? So that's Greg's take.
Okay. Well, I really enjoyed the Meg 2. The thing with Mission Impossible is a better movie. There's just no question about it, And also, Jason Statham does do his own jet skiing, but Tom Cruise threw himself off a mountain on a motorbike 6 times. So I really enjoyed Meg 2, and I had a couple of people say, well, you only like it because you like Ben Wheatley. Look, this is how it works. I like Ben Wheatley's films. And so Ben Wheatley, there's a good chance that if Ben Wheatley makes a film, I'll probably be something in there that I like. I think the problem with the first Meg was it was too well behaved. I think the problem with this Meg, because you can't up the gore because it still has to have the PG-13 in America, they just up the madness. And the madness is massively upped. And I think the pacing of the film is well done. I think the fact that it is like a kind of dun 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 dun, and you get to the third act and it's like WTF exclamation mark. I thought it was really good fun. I like all the kind of, the Thunderbirds and the, Edgar Rice Burroughs and all that stuff and Mothra and, all the stuff that that Ben Wheatley loves. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a much better film than The Meg. And you?
I thought it was appalling. And look, I'm as in the tank for Ben Wheatley as you are, I think. And I think there's a certain critical instinct. And it's not I will like the film because a director has made it.
No.
But that you try to read a director's tastes and impulses into whatever it is they have made, whether or not those things are there. And I think
you or one tries to do that.
One does. And so things like Statham's slightly askew line readings and the writing, is this Wheatley being arch and ironic? or is it just a bad script? I kind of have to say it's
well, Wheatley
the
didn't
latter.
write the script.
No, I know, but that's what I mean. Like when you hear Statham delivering those lines, do you think, oh, Wheatley's having a bit of fun with this? Or is he just shooting a terrible script? I think he's just shooting a terrible script. I would love to see the giant shark underwater mining thriller that Wheatley would make on 1% of this film's budget. I wanted to see the kind of clanky and wobbly sort of Doctor Who level special effects thing of people going underwater and fighting each other in this weird
The 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah, exactly. But with that kind of, free fire sort of edge and the chaotic cast all clashing. I have other issues with this film that I don't think we've got time to go into now, with the fact that it's a Chinese co-production. I have huge misgivings about working hand in hand with a propaganda department of the Chinese state. And this is not something that's just a Meg 2 issue. This is an enormous Hollywood issue.
That's a whole show in itself.
But when you take your cues about what you can and can't do in a film from a government body, this is not good news to me. But as I say, it's not just a Meg 2 issue. But no, I wanted to see the film that Wheatley would have made with far, far less money and far more freedom. We are actually, having talked about this, we now have to this extent, we now have to whiz through the last two at the top of the chart, but I think everyone knows these films already. At number 2, massive drum roll, unexpectedly, of course, it is Oppenheimer. And at number 1, in both the UK and the US, it's Barbie.
I mean, no surprise that Barbie is still hanging on to the number 1 spot. It was, I think, a record-breaking weekend when they both opened. I have seen both of them. I have seen Barbie twice. I've seen Oppenheimer once. I would like to see Oppenheimer again, but I think they're both they're both interesting films. If Cillian Murphy doesn't get Oscar nominated, I will eat Werner Herzog's shoe. But I haven't heard from you. What do you think?
Yes, no goodness, I love them both. I'm more. I have to say, is it one of your kids thinks Oppenheimer is the best film of the year?
One of Sanjeev's
kids. That was it. Yes. Yes, I'm with them. I think it's terrific. I think Barbie is incredibly cleverly done. It's the pleasure of seeing Greta Gerwig and her cast stage their own escape from this impossible trap that they've, made for themselves is really, really exciting. But I think Oppenheimer is just incredible. And, I went into that film the first time, I've seen it a couple of times now, and thinking, let's not be crass. Let's not kind of talk about Oscars on the way out of this thing. Let's just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. And then you literally, I saw,
oh my goodness, well, Cillian Murphy must be nominated. He must win.
But
the score is Goranson's best yet, must be winning it's very,
the score is great, and Murphy, it is an Oscar-winning performance, isn't it?
I hope so. That was this week's chart, and we'll be right back with you after these messages.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's Take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.